So there are a number of different Theravada monastic orders in Asia. There are also beliefs and practices associated with Buddhism, often taken from the local folk culture that are found in some parts of Southeast Asia and not others. But compared to Mahayana, Theravada is relatively homogeneous. So anywhere you go, if you are very familiar with one, that is Theravada school of thought, then you will be able to easily identify with other countries where this is observed because the homogeneity or same or type of practice, beliefs and all that. Whereas in Mahayana, it is quite flexible and you may find very, very diverging practices, customs and all that is found in Mahayana Buddhism. Now we come to the divisions of Mahayana. We have seen the Theravada school. Now we come to the Mahayana school of Buddhism. The distinctions among different sects of Mahayana Buddhism are pronounced, they might seem to be entirely different religions. They are all built on the same philosophical and doctrinal foundations. The doctrinal differences tend to be minor compared to the difference in practice, such as meditation, ritual, chanting. Most people who come to Mahayana choose a school because its practices resonate well with them. And that is the flexibility of Mahayana school of Buddhism, because they tend to adapt or adopt those practices which are in the land. Especially what is mainly we find in them is that of meditation, ritual and chanting. And this they adapt depending on the situation in which they are. So most people who come to Mahayana choose a school because its practices resonate well with them. So they become very much because part of their culture, the land in which they are. Here are some of the Mahayana traditions most likely to find in the West. What are the types which we find? But it is not an exhaustive list. And there are many variations and sub-sects. There are also traditions that combine elements of more than one sect. The practices described are all along long established means to enable practitioners to actualize the Buddha's teaching. So what is more important here is that there are different school of or the sect in Buddhism itself, that is, be it in Theravada school of thought or Mahayana school of thought. The various divisions are based on the aspect of the adoption or adaptation they have done in each land, which you don't find so much of flexibility in Theravada Buddhism or the Hinayana Buddhism. But in Mahayana you will find divergent practices different. That means the type of the practices quite varying from one to another. So some of the major schools of Buddhism in Mahayana Buddhism. The first one we can speak about is Amitabha or Amita Buddhism, also called Pure Land Buddhism. Amitabha or Amita Buddhism, also called Pure Land Buddhism. Pure Land emphasizes faithful devotion to Buddha Amitabha. By the grace of Amitabha, one may be reborn in the Pure Land where enlightenment may be realized and nirvana is close at hand. The most distinctive practice of Pure Land Buddhism, called Ninafo in Chinese and Nembustu in Japanese, is the mindful recitation of Amitabha's name or Amitabha's name. That is a constant chanting or recitation that's going on. So Amitabha or Amita Buddhism is called the Pure Land Buddhism. So one of the major sect in Mahayana Buddhism is Amitabha or Amita Buddhism or Pure Land Buddhism. Nihrian Buddhism is a Japanese tradition that has gained a large following in the West. It emphasizes a mindful chanting practices that evokes mystical power of the Lotus Sutra to bring all beings to enlightenment. Probably the largest Nihrian school in the West is Soka Gakki International, SGI, a lay organization, but there are others too. So another school or another school in that is Mahayana Buddhism is Nihrian Buddhism. Another school is Tendai, is less widespread in the West than many other traditions, but is a long established Mahayana tradition in Asia. Tendai offers a number of meditations and other practices to enable enlightenment. So all the schools, one thing they have in common is striving for enlightenment. The very word Buddha means the enlightened one. So all the practices, the meditation, the precepts are observed, or the observation of the Four Noble Truths and the Ashtanga Marga, the Eightfold Ways, is to get enlightenment. That is the prime goal of that enlightenment. So here all the various different sects, we will find that all the practices, recitation, everything is done in order to have that enlightenment. Then we have the Tibetan Buddhism, another school in the Mahayana school of thought. Tibetan Buddhism has gained a huge following in the West in recent years. There are 4 major schools and many sub-schools of Tibetan Buddhism. Tibetan Buddhism combines meditation with the ritual, chanting and other practices. The most distinctive feature of the Tibetan Buddhism is Tantra or deity yoga. So that is something very unique to Tibetan Buddhism, Tantra or deity yoga. This is most simply translated as a means of enlightenment through identity with the tantric deities. The enlightenment through identity with the tantric deities. So tantric or deity yoga, something very unique to Tibetan Buddhism. Then we have Zen Buddhism, we have heard of that. Zen is the Japanese name for Shan, a sect that originated in the 6th century in China. Chan Buddhism also spread to Korea and Vietnam. The most basic practice of Zen is mindful, silent meditation practice called Sazen in Japanese. Zen has been predominantly a monastic school for most of its history, although there is a long tradition of lay practice also. So we have seen 3-4 schools in Mahayana, whereas in that of Theravada, that is the Hinayana school, we don't find so many because they are homogeneous group. They don't want to have many divisions. Also their practice is more or less homogeneous practice. Anywhere you find that is Theravada school of Buddhism, it will be, the practices will be same. There is not much of difference, not much of flexibility or adaptation is possible in Hinayana school of thought. Whereas in Mahayana you find a lot of adaptation, and we have already the Amitabha or Amita Buddhism, then Nihrian Buddhism, Tendai, Tibetan Buddhism. In Tibetan Buddhism itself, some 3-4 major schools of thought we can see. Then we have the Zen. Zen is a Japanese name for Shan, and that is also predominantly a monastic school, but then there is also tradition of a lay practice also. Not every temple you might visit will fit neatly into these sectarian niches. It is not at all unusual to find temples that combine practices of more than one tradition. For example, there are many sects not listed, and those that are listed come under many denominations. So no temple will fit in exactly to or pinpoint this is this part of or belong to this sect alone, because it's always going on adaptation, adoption, and then mingling with other cultures, trying to take more from other kind of the practices. Now we are going to compare both this Hinayana and Mahayana school of Buddhism. So first we will speak about the very name itself. That is, one is said the Hinayana and Mahayana, or Hinayana also is called the Theravada or the smaller vehicle, and Mahayana is called the bigger vehicle. The term Hinayana, lesser vehicle or modest vehicle, and Mahayana, greater vehicle or vast vehicle, originated in the Prajnana Parimita Sutra, that is Sutra's far-reaching discriminating awareness or the perfection of wisdom sutras. Prajnana Parimita Sutra. Prajnana Paramita Sutras. Basing on that, we have these two schools, that is of the names that is come, Hinayana and Mahayana. They are rather a derogatory pair of words, aggrandizing Mahayana and putting down Hinayana. Hinayana encompasses 18 schools. So we are making a comparison here. Hinayana encompasses 18 schools. The most important for our purposes are Sarvastivada and Theravada. So in Hinayana school of thought, one prominent schools are going to be Sarvastivada and Theravada. Theravada is Theravada is the one extant today in Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia. Sarvastivada was widespread in northern India, and when the Tibetans started to travel there and Buddhism began to be transplanted to Tibet. So this, the division of the schools we find. There are two main divisions in Sarvastivada. So again there is the main division we have said, that is Sarvastivada and Theravada. In Sarvastivada, two main divisions are based on philosophical differences. Vaibhashika and Sautranika, that comes under the main school of Sarvastivada, that is Vaibhashika school and Sautranika. Hinayana tenet systems studied at the Indian monastic universities such as Nalanda and later by the Tibetan Mahayanists are from these two schools. The lineage of monastic vows followed in Tibet is from another Sarvastivada subdivision, Mula Sarvastivada. So that is the division what we have in the Hinayana school or the Theravada school. Then the division are based on the Buddhas and Arhatas. There is a unique and significant difference between Hinayana and Mahayana presentation of Arhats and Buddhas. Both agree that Arhats or liberated beings are more limited than Buddhas or enlightened beings are. Mahayana formulates this difference in terms of two sets of observations: the emotional ones, which prevent liberation, and the cognitive ones, which prevent omniscience. Arhats are free of only the former, whereas Buddhas are free of both. This division is found in Hinayana. It is purely a Mahayana formulation. So what is the division what we find here? We have seen the ideal to be reached in the Hinayana is Arhathood, and whereas in the Mahayana it is the Bodhisattva ideal. And here the quite significant difference between Hinayana and Mahayana presentations of the Arhats and Buddhas. Arhats both agree that our liberated beings are more limited than Buddhas or enlightened beings. Mahayana formulates this difference in terms of two sets of observation. So how Mahayana makes a difference of this Arhats and Buddhas. The two sets of observation are the following. The emotional ones which prevent liberation, and cognitive ones which prevent omniscience. Arhats are free only of the former, that is, the emotional ones which prevent liberation, whereas the Buddhists are free of both, that is, the cognitive ones which prevent omniscience as well as the emotional ones which prevent liberation. This division is not found in Hinayana, it's purely a Mahayana interpretation or formulation. To gain liberation or enlightenment, both Hinayana and Mahayana assert that one needs non-conceptual cognition of the lack of an impossible soul. So we have said that be it in Mahayana or Hinayana, the interpretation of anatha or no soul, that is the basis of the major division, basing on the concept of that soul. So here, to gain liberation or enlightenment, both Hinayana and Mahayana assert that one needs non-conceptual cognition of the lack of an impossible soul, such as a lack is often called selflessness. So no self, anatha. In Sanskrit and the main Indian scriptural language of Sarvastivada and Mahayana, anatha in Pali. The scriptural language of the Theravada. So anatma in Sanskrit and anatha in Pali, that is the main language of the Theravada. The Hinayana school asserts this lack of an impossible soul with respect only to persons, not all phenomena. Persons lack a soul, an Atman that is unaffected by anything, partless and separate from the body, and a mind, and which can be cognized as its own. Such a soul is impossible. So what is the contention of the Hinayana school? Hinayana school asserts that this lack of an impossible soul with respect only to persons and not to all phenomena. Persons lack a soul, an Atman, that is unaffected by anything, partless and separate or separable from the body and mind, and which can be cognized on its own. Such a soul is impossible. That is the Hinayana position with regard to selflessness. So selflessness means no self. It is not what we understand that is the virtue, a selfless person. It means he doesn't think of himself, but he is going altruistic or going out of himself much more, or he is thinking about others. That is not the selflessness meant here. It means no self, or anatha, or anatma. Anatma in Sanskrit, that is for the Mahayana, and for the Hinayana, that is and anatha in Pali, that scriptural language of the Theravada. So two aspects, anatha and anatma, no soul theory. With just the understanding that there is no such things as this type of soul, with respect to persons, one can become either an Arhat or Buddha. The difference depends on how much positive force or the so-called merit one builds up because of their development of the enlightening aim of bodhicitta. Buddhas have built up a far more positive force than Arhats have. So this is what is the major difference here is that no soul theory. Then how do you become, then with respect to persons, one can become either Arhat or Buddha. The difference depends on how much positive force or a so-called merit one builds up. And we can see that in Theravada Buddhism, the ideal to be reached is arhathood or the individual salvation, and that remains, that's the highest ideal to be reached. Whereas in Bodhi or in the Mahayana tradition, it is the Bodhisattva ideal. And therefore, they seem to create more merits than that of the principle of or the ideal to be reached in the Theravada Buddhism, that is arhathood. Mahayana asserts that Buddhas understand the lack of an impossible soul with respect to all phenomena as well as respect to all persons. They call this as voidness. The various Indian schools of Mahayana differ regarding whether or not arhats also understand the voidness of the phenomena. Within Mahayana, Prasangika Madhyamika asserts that they do. However, the four Tibetan traditions explain this point differently regarding the Prasangika assertion. Some say that the voidness of phenomena understood by arhats is different from that understood by Buddhas. Some assert that two voidness are the same. Some say that the scope of phenomena to which the voidness of the phenomena applies is more limited for arhats than for its Buddhas. Some assert it is the same. There is no need to go into all details here. So these are the main aspects.